No, he just got a $50,000 fine, Skip. And I'm sure the NBA warned him, Kyrie, this could lead to a suspension. And the last thing that Kyrie Irving wants to do is to do something that puts his team in further jeopardy. He understands that not getting back the mandate probably put them in a situation where they were in the play-in tournament, Skip, end up being the 7th seed, probably could have had a higher seed, probably could have had home court advantage. Who knows? Maybe throughout the entirety of the playoff, if Kyrie was playing in the regular season like he's played the last half when he got back. So I do not expect Kyrie to have the antics that he had in Sunday's ball game. Do I expect some talking? Do I expect some long stares after he makes a shot? Sure. But, Skip, I don't think he's going to take it to the level in which he elevated it on Sunday, because I can assure you, Commissioner Silver will not tolerate another outburst like he had. I'm thinking that if he were to do that again, it's probably going to be a suspension. And that's the last thing Kyrie Irving wants. And plus, he's too skilled of a player. Now, don't think the Boston Celtics fans aren't going to try and rile him up. Little do they know, they did a terrible job. If they thought they got under his skin, yeah, you got him a $50,000 fine, but he almost single-handedly won that game. He was sensational. I expect him, and I don't know if he'll be as sensational, but I think he'll be undeterred by the antics that's going on around him. I expect Kyrie Irving to maybe do a little talking, very little, because he's not a talker, but he will give you a long stare to let you know, I heard what you said, and it's not affecting my play. So for me, Skip, I don't expect to see what we saw Sunday night. That was a 10. Maybe he's down to a 2. Maybe some stares like, it's your guys' fault that this is going on. But Skip, no, I do not expect to see tonight what we saw Sunday.
Okay, so you have described what happened Sunday as a 10.
Yeah.
And that's on a back-and-forth scale, right?
Yes.
I believe these Celtic fans tonight...
They're going to a 12.
They're easily going to a 12.
Yeah, they're going to
a 12.
Yeah.
This will escalate. He has escalated it. It could also benefit him greatly for it to escalate because he fed off it in the fourth quarter and merely scored 18 points with his fire being fed by those fans.
Yes.
Okay. So how will he respond tonight? Maybe this is more heart than head, but the more I thought about what he did on Sunday, I got to admit to you, the more I liked it. It was revolutionary. It was groundbreaking. Kyrie likes to be a crusader. He likes to shatter the mold.
Right.
And I just have a feeling he'll go back just as strongly tonight as he did on Sunday.
You actually think he might flip the fans off again?
I do.
Oh, no.
Okay, so we both thought, I think we both went to 50 grand because he got it was 25 for the last time. I think 50. Okay, so what's the next one? 75, 100? The money won't matter to him because he's got plenty of money the last time I checked. So I don't think that will bother him. Obviously, if it got to suspension level, that would bother him because that would really, really bother his teammates.
Don't you think, Skip,
I just don't know.
They warned him?
The most shocking thing I've ever seen in all my years covering playoff games was that Draymond Green actually got suspended for a Game 5 back at Oracle when they were up 3-1.
Correct.
I couldn't believe it. I couldn't sort of stomach it. I couldn't tolerate it because it just felt wrong to take a key component. He was called their glue player at that point. You could still argue he is to this day.
He is,
But to take him out of the lineup completely for a whole game that became, as you know, a pivotal game in the career of one LeBron James because it turned the whole series around, what was shocking to me because you can't tamper with the integrity, especially of the finals. And in this case, let's say he goes double bird again one time tonight.
He's going to get suspended.
Okay, you really think so?
Yeah.
Because, boy, that's a huge thing. Okay, what if they lose tonight off the double bird and they go home and he can't play in Game 3?
Because you know what? Why did Drake? This wasn't an isolated incident with Draymond. This wasn't the first time that he had did what he done to LeBron James. The NBA had warned him.
He had kicked Steven Adams in the midsection.
Got a couple of guys. So Skip, I believe in the wording of the language when they sent that letter to Kyrie, they probably had a talk. Kyrie, any further outbursts of this nature could warrant a suspension. Why would you, Skip? Why would you even say, man, I hope the NBA doesn't suspend him. I know Kyrie did this, and I know they probably warned him. Why would you even put your team in this situation, knowing that the possible ramifications?
I got you. Yet sometimes the suspension is all about the climate and the context of said whatever rule breaking, whatever law breaking there was here. Okay, so what's the climate and the context of this one? I felt like the bird and the double bird drew some sympathy from players around the league because you have agreed with me that fan verbal abuse has escalated over the top and over the line.
Yes.
Where it's gone completely profane.
Right.
You pointed out, you Googled the guy, Robin
Thicke.
Thicke, yeah. Thicke. In Washington was almost a celebrity heckler for years and years, but he actually had rehearsed his lines, and he had lines, he had bits, he had jokes for everybody, but it all stayed pretty G-rated.
It did.
He would peck away, but it was all, you could laugh it off.
It was almost like, Skip, the visiting team, they expected it. They looked forward to seeing him at the ball game.
They did. These are Boston fans who have a reputation already that goes back years and years and years to the great Bill Russell back in the 60s. Right. And now it's gone completely over the edge into all kinds of profanity. And to Kyrie's credit, after the game, he actually detailed the profanity, which may have helped get him fined. But he went ahead and blurted out the words that he had heard himself called. I, for one, appreciated that because I've said to you many times, we sit here with our hands up in the air because we're not sure what exactly was it? How far did it go?
Right.
Well, if it were just this, I'd be okay with that. But if it were that, I wouldn't be okay with that, and I would want to go back at the fan too.
Right.
So I believe a part of you empathized with Kyrie because there's a big part of you that would want to do just exactly the same that he did.
Skip, look, and you know, you hear guys and Shaq and Charles talk about, you know, they got things, but I just think the vitriol has been ramped up over the last 5-10 years. People feel they can say anything, can call you out of your name. And then Kyrie says, you know what, at what point in time do we say, you know what, the NBA, y'all not doing anything, do I protect myself?
Okay. So I told you, in all my career covering any of the leagues, yours or this one or baseball, I'd never seen an athlete consistently through a game go back at his, they're not even hecklers, they're abusers. They're especially
during the game, Skip. Now, you've seen guys getting thrown out the game, they give you the double bird as they're leaving, or they flip somebody off as they're leaving, but not during the actual course of the game.
No, and it was consistent, and Kyrie stood his ground after the game, and he said, I'm going to go back at them with the same energy. And because he's built the way he's built, I have this grudging respect for him. And I told you on Monday, I slept on it, and then I started thinking, you know, I've always been a little bit anti-Kyrie because the whole vax issue, anti-vax.
Kind of rubbed you the wrong way.
It got me the wrong way because we all had to participate for the sake of our team. We all had to sacrifice. Whether you believed in it or not, everybody who really knows about it said, this will work. And I think it's pretty much worked.
Yes.
And it allowed you and I to come back in here barely 6 feet away, right?
Yeah.
A lot sooner than we probably should have.
Yes.
Okay, so we sacrificed for the sake of the team, just like he should have, because he continued to get paid whatever I don't know what he makes, $40-odd million. And there was no sacrifice on his part as far as losing his job, yet he said, I'm doing this for all the people who've lost their job. Well, you didn't lose yours. You didn't lose your paycheck at all.
You still get paid.
Yeah, and you're making way more money than most of those people are making.
Correct.
So despite that, despite all the conspiracy theories about Illuminati or Earth is flat, I just finally came around to this young man's got guts.
Right.
He has the courage of his convictions. And he's the first one I ever saw say, I've just had enough of this. So I'm going back at them, and I'm not going to stop the whole game. And furthermore, I'm going to back it up in the fourth quarter. The more they talk, the more I'll make.
You know what, Skip Bayless? I think the reason why you like Kyrie because you see a lot of yourself in Kyrie.
I do. I do. It finally dawned on me. And I'm not I'm not endorsing a lot of the things he says or believes in.
Right.
But this is a young man who says, okay, my faith says I should fast during Ramadan, and I'm just going to fast.
I'm going to do it.
And I'm like, way to go.
Right.
Way to go. That's a beautiful thing. And I hope it's not affecting his performance. It didn't seem to then, because the one thing about Ramadan, as far as I know, as much as I read, once the sun does go down, then you can eat and drink. You can feast.
Yes.
Okay, so at least he's keeping his strength up,
Right.
but I'm sure during the day, according to him, he is observing Ramadan.
Right.
Okay.
And the most famous player that I can remember in basketball is Hakeem Olajuwon.
That is correct. Okay. So all of the above finally hit me between the eyes. Yeah, I like this. And I've told you this quote before. I used it on my podcast the other day, but it's up on my refrigerator. It's been up there for like 30 years. It's from an old Supreme Court justice with a sort of bizarre name, Felix Frankfurter, but you can look him up. And he said that anybody who is any good is different from anybody else. And that's a truism over time.
Right.
Those who stand out, they're just different.
Yes.
Because they dare to be themselves. And he is daring to be different.
Right.
Okay, do I endorse the double bird? Okay, I got it. It's a bad look for a league that cares about his image almost as much as the NFL cares about it.
This is a big game. This is a national televised game. This was their statement game.
Okay.
On ABC, if I'm not mistaken, ABC at 3:30. So that's a big game.
It was a statement game. And I do not, I have to draw my lines for Kyrie. He even said after the game, I'm even going to look you in the eye if you say one of those words to me, and I'm going to see if you're about that.
Right.
Well, that means you're ready to go right here. Let's throw down, let's go.
Right.
If it comes to fisticuffs, it comes to fisticuffs. Right. The last time we saw that was the Malice in the Palace featuring our man Steven Jackson, obviously Ron Artest, Meta World Peace. And it went completely wrong, right? And they were gone. Artest was gone for what?
He missed the rest of the year. I think he missed like 50, 60.
Yeah, because it was early in the game. I mean, in the year. It was early, like in November. Okay, so obviously I don't want to see Kyrie engage in fisticuffs with anybody because it would just be wrong. And I think he knows it would be wrong. He just wants all of them in the front row, second row, to know, I'm not backing down from this. And the oldest cliche in sports is about rabbit ears. Go back to the great Jackie Robinson. You cannot have rabbit ears. You cannot hear it. Don't let it even go in your psyche, because if you let it go in, they win. Right? If you're distracted by it, they win. Sticks and stones can break your bones, but words can never hurt you.
Well, Jackie was hearing something from the players that was actually on the field. I was seeing they auctioning off one of his caps, Skip, and he had iron inside the cap because people were trying to beat him in the head. So he wanted the iron. He had the iron stitched in his cap. So if they hit him in the head, it would hit the iron instead of just hitting his pure skull.
Okay, so I'm sure he heard about as much verbal abuse as anybody's ever heard. And Branch Rickey told him, you cannot retaliate.
Correct.
You cannot respond. Your strength is in not responding. Right?
Skip, the man that he became, because remember, Skip, he no longer stood for the national anthem. He no longer sang the national anthem. Had he had that stance in the beginning, Skip, I don't know if the blacks and minorities would have got an opportunity as soon as they did.
I would
because
agree.
they'd have said, nah,
Okay. All right.
We can't.
Okay. But things have changed enough.
Yes.
That Kyrie, we came full circle to a place just after Black Lives Matter in which Kyrie is saying, wait a second, I deserve to go back. Like they can't get away with that just because they buy a ticket. I'm a man too. They can't insult me and get away with it. And so for the first time ever, I saw a player just turn around and say, no, or back to him, go double bird behind the head. And I just think, knowing him the way we do, I'm not sure he's going to back off or back down tonight, because he's going to hear more of it tonight than he did the other day.
I mean, whatever he thought Sunday was, he needs to magnify that by 2 to 3. And then that's what he's going to get tonight, knowing, because the Celtics fans, they know what's at stake. They get an opportunity to take a 2-0 lead. You don't want to have a 1-1 lead going on the road for 2 straight games, Skip, knowing how well Kyrie is playing, especially if he has a big game. They're try to get him out of his game early. You know, KD, we're going to talk about KD a little later. He's probably looking to have, he's probably going to have a bounce-back ball game. But, Skip, I just don't think Kyrie can let the emotions. And I understand that, man, hold on. This ain't no trash talking. This is different. This is not calling me fat. This is not about talking about my talent. You're going to talk about my manhood. You're talking about the very existence of who I am.
That is correct.
So he's like, hold on, bro, wait a minute, bro. This is getting out of hand. NBA, y'all need to do something about this.
Yeah. What I'm saying is, I'm not sure Commissioner Silver could escalate to suspension at this point because he knows that a whole lot of his players are on Kyrie's side here. Because this isn't about just misbehaving. This is about standing up for you as a man and, in another way, as a black man standing up.
But I think the thing is, Skip, and every league always says their players are held to the highest standard. And we want our players to be the highest level of professionalism at all times. And I believe that's going to carry over with Kyrie. I don't believe he'll react in the manner in which he reacted on Sunday. I just think there'll be some stares, especially if he hits a shot. He's going to look at, somebody's going to say something. And it's going to start early and it's going to start often. Probably when he comes out for warm-up. So he probably come on out there with that sage, Kyrie, get the demons out there.
Durant said yesterday, sometimes it's just a matter of mood. And I think he knows better than anyone. Kyrie can be very moody.
Yes.
That's what sort of split up the Cavaliers after the championship. He just got moodier and moodier, according to many sources inside those Cavs,
go weeks
to the point that he was non-communicative and a little bit sort of withdrawn and sullen and difficult to, as you say, communicate with. Okay? So Kevin's saying, well, it might depend on his mood. Well, I don't know. This will be one where they're going to snap him right out of whatever mood he is in, which brings us to the final question here. Who wins game 2?
I'm going Boston. I just think Boston is a better team. While like I said, we're going to talk about KD. I think Jaylen Brown plays better. I think they're going to have the same opportunity with shots in the paint, the restricted area. I think they capitalize on some of those. Skip, you get 50 shots in the paint. You're not going to shoot the bad percentage that the Boston Celtics shot. I think the Celtics win. I think it'll be a close ball game, but I don't think it's going to come down to the wire like this last ball game. I can see the Celtics winning by, say, somewhere between 4 and 6 points.
Okay. The Nets should have won game 1. I thought they were in commanding positions 2 or 3 times down the stretch to close the door and the deal. They had shots. Dragic had a 3 that could have put them up 8. KD had a 3 that could have put them up 7. They missed those shots. I don't think they'll miss them if they're in that position this time.
You expect Dragic to go 6 of 6 from the field before he misses his first shot?
I think I'm expecting big games from everybody. Patty Mills, Seth Curry, and especially those two. We're also going to talk later about a contention of one Tracy McGrady on your podcast, that this is the most dynamic duo in the history of this league. LeBron concurred, even greater than he and D-Wade. D-Wade concurred through Twitter. So we know who they are, but it's who I've said they were from the start. I've made that contention on the show from the start. And I told you I'm picking the Nets in this series simply because of those two. I just think those two as a duo are better than anything else Boston can muster. I think Boston played a very good game while the Nets didn't play their A game. And the Nets down the stretch said, we can just outscore you. And they couldn't because they allowed some of the
layup after layup after layup.
And then Kyrie, at some point, if you're that smart with that basketball IQ that you have on the offensive end, you just have to grab him. You just have to grab him and fling him as best you can and do what Klay Thompson did to George Hill, Game 1, Oracle 2018, put him on the free throw line. Make him make 2 free throws.
What's the motto in playoff basketball? No layups.
No layups.
No layups.
And certainly no dunks. That was always the Spurs' philosophy against LeBron. Just don't let him dunk.
But you guys are at a decided disadvantage. Seth Curry, he's not a defensive guy. Kyrie Irving is not a defensive guy. Patty Mills is not a defensive guy. Gordon Dragic. They're not defensive guys. Get with damn. Kyrie. So who's going to play defense?
Kevin Durant will rise and shine tonight. I wish we could have a LaMarcus Aldridge sighting just once because he can really run.
But I've been told you, he was like the laundry. He washed. Blake Griffin, you want Blake Griffin. He washed. Remember how he was chirping last year?
Yep. I think LaMarcus has got a hip injury that's career-threatening. I don't know what it is.
Skip, the man 42. He older than LeBron.
42.
He's older than LeBron?
Yeah, he's a little older, I think, but not much.
I don't think he's older
I
than LeBron.
got Nets tonight in Game 2, and with the points, obviously.
No. Why you? Hold on. You just tell me you got the most dynamic duo in the history of the game, and you want points?
And you told me Boston's just better than the Nets, right?
They are.
At home,
the team
with that crowd.
Better.
Wow.
I give you 2.5.
2.5? Okay, done. I'll take.
Got him. See what I did? See, I do. I got to point off what the line was.
Gentlemen, we will find out starting at 7 o'clock. That's when that game tips, and I don't think anybody expects KD to have that 27% shooting performance tonight. It'll be fun to watch.
Thank you for watching. You can subscribe here to get the latest from the show, and be sure to check out more of the best clips from Undisputed, or go watch a few other segments from our other shows on FS1.